Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
It's a loaded Friday. The transfer portal is officially open. Bison women's basketball, the win streak continues, and we'll also meet the newest cornerbacks coach for North Dakota State. All that and more coming up. Hot Mic starts right now.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to this, it's almost a weekend edition of Hot Mic. Thanks for joining us, however you are, on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City. Hello to everybody in South Dakota. We're also streaming on Inform.com and WDAY+. It is the second day of January 2026. Off to a busy start. Busy start. Good morning. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo for one more day. It's been a fun week. I appreciate you for letting me hold the fort down and sticking around with me all week. Let's try to wrap it up on a high note, shall we? Dom should be back on Monday. As we've told you throughout the week, he's had the week off, at least from the show. He's still been doing some work from home. He's on his way. He's currently in the sky right now, on his way to Nashville. Busy weekend planned for him. He'll have some coverage of the FCS National Championship game that's coming up on Monday. He is hosting the Walter Payton Award ceremony that's coming up tomorrow evening, which, by the way, you can watch on our website, inform.com. The whole entire award portion of the FCS award banquet starts around 6:45, and we'll have that live stream for you on inform.com. So looking forward to that. And according to my sources, we may have an appearance from Dom on the show this morning. He's listed as questionable right now because he texted me not too long ago that he was in the air. So we'll see what time he lands. I can't remember how long the flight is to go that way. But if he makes it there in time and connects to the internet, we may have Dom on the show later on to help wrap up hour number 2 on this Friday morning. Be a good end of the week. That's for sure. In the meantime, thanks for joining us. Lot to get to today. Bison women's basketball, they have extended their win streak to 10 games. 10-game win streak they're up to now. They get the job done in Tulsa last night in a place they have not won in a long time. We'll show you how it happened coming up in just a moment. College football playoffs was off and roaring yesterday. 2 stinkers and a good game. We'll recap those in just a little bit. Also, former Bison quarterback Cam Miller is back in the headlines. We'll tell you his exciting news. And we'll meet the newest Bison cornerbacks coach. Lewis Walker will join us to start hour number 2 coming up at 10 o'clock. We'll reintroduce you. I think that's the better word. Instead of meet, reintroduce you to Lewis, who has been here before. He was here in 22 and 23. We'll chat with him. Looking forward to that conversation coming up in a little bit. Again, it is Transfer Portal Day. The transfer portal is officially open, so happy Portal Day to all of you who do and do not celebrate. The single window this year it opens today, and it will close on the 16th, go through the 16th, I should say. Of course, there's exceptions for those playing in the postseason right now. Tons of names. I think the last number I saw, portal opened at midnight. There's well over 1,000 names as scholarship athletes that are in the transfer portal. It is going to be a wild 2 weeks. It will be the topic of conversation for a while. And as we've told you throughout the week, 5 starters from this past season's Bison squad have already announced that they are going to go into the transfer portal. Bo Johnson, the big one, left tackle, All-American. Trent Fraley, All-American center for North Dakota State. Toby Anene, big-time edge rusher for NDSU. All three of them in the portal. Jalen Duffy announced earlier this week, stud Bison cornerback, and also Jaquise Alexander. He announced on the same day as Duffy did, another Bison cornerback. And let's not forget about the Bison kicker, Eli Ozick. He's in there as well. So 5 guys with starting experience. Wyatt Osterbauer and Chance Simons are also in there as well. And as we come on this morning, 9:05 is the time, we can add another All-American onto that list. Another former member now of the Bison, has announced that they are going to go into the transfer portal, and that is All-American long snapper Caleb Bowers. He is putting his name onto the portal list. Of course, again, that opens up today. Good career for Caleb, no doubt about that. Obviously, there's not a ton of statistics for long snappers, but for those of you that watch Bison football, at least for me in the last 2 years, I feel like I can count on half of a hand of how many bad snaps that we've seen in a kicking operation. Caleb seemed to have been automatic in his time with North Dakota State, picked up the All-American honors this past season. So the special teams unit is going to look a lot different going into next season. With Eli Ozick gone, Drew Klein is the kicker that's on roster right now. Earlier this week, we had incoming kicker Jaden Onyewanga from Forest Lake High School join us on the show. A really impressive young man with a big leg. He's coming up. So a couple of guys who, one doesn't have any college experience and the other with limited college experience. And now Caleb Bowers looking for who's going to step up at the long snapper position. Now, for the class of 2026, North Dakota State did go out and get a long snapper. Gabe Vernetti from Rockford, Illinois, will come up here to Fargo pretty soon. So that's at least some good news there, picking up somebody who's specializes in the long snapping business, if you will. Another name to keep an eye out for, Donovan Woolen, was the backup long snapper last season. I don't believe, I remember right, I don't think he got into a game and did any long snapping because he didn't have to. Caleb was pretty healthy the entire way, but we'll see. We'll see if there's a job battle there or if Vernetti can take it coming from the high school ranks, but another name added on to the list today. Eric is on transfer portal watch this morning. If we get any updates on anybody else, we'll pass that along as soon as we can. Now, I mentioned it. Last night was a big one. North Dakota State women's basketball opening up Summit League play in Tulsa, Oklahoma, taking on Oral Roberts. First conference game of the year. We had Jory Collins on the program yesterday. He shed some light on why this road trip to Oklahoma and to Denver is so tough with the travel day, short turnaround, obviously good teams in Oral Roberts and Denver as well. But historically, it has not been a fun place to play for NDSU on the campus of ORU. But yesterday, things changed a little bit. Let's show you how the opening Summit League game of the year went down for North Dakota State women's basketball. They have not won in Tulsa since February of 2009. That's a pretty long time. Here's how things started. Opening points of the game, Jossie Schiller finding a wide open Abby Kraswinski, who knocks down the straightaway three. Great game for Kraswinski. 17 points, 4 threes. This was her second one to extend the Bison lead early on in the first quarter. ORU was pesky. This was a game of runs for both teams. Jaylee Oglesby drives into the lane, lays it off of the glass. 2 points for her. Good game for Oglesby, who, as Bison fans know all too well, really, really dominant player in the Summit League. 20-20 at this point. Good find in the lay-in. It's now 39-28. Bison leading with 8 minutes left to go in the third. The Bison took a lead into the halftime break. ORU back on the board. Again, a game of runs, 49-35. The Golden Eagles go into a zone, and NDSU decided, you know what, in the second half, we're just going to shoot over the top of it. Marissa Frost knocks down the three. 14 points for her in the ball game. And the three-point contest would continue. Molly Lenz, with 9 minutes left to go in the fourth, hesitates but drills the three. And this was a big point in the game. Carrington Asp down low off of the find from Avery Coonan. At this point, ORU brought it back within single digits after NDSU really busted the door down in the second half. Carrington Ass helping extend the lead, and then Jaylee Oglesby bringing it back to a 7-point game with under 90 seconds left to go. But NDSU would hold on. They would get the win in a game of runs, as I mentioned. 76-68 the final score. NDSU had the lead 33-28 at the break, so a lot of scoring in the second half. Oral Roberts had 26 points in the fourth quarter alone to NDSU's 19. The Bison are now 12-2 overall, and they start off conference play in a very good spot. Now, again, this is the first win in Tulsa since 2009. That is, since the last time they won, 6,151 days. That's a long time. Dom tweeted it out after the game that a lot of the players on this Bison roster right now were 2 or 3 years old last time North Dakota State won at Oral Roberts. Carrington Asp, she has a great game coming off of the bench once again, 17 points tied for the team lead. Abby Kraswinski, 17 points as well, knocking down 4 threes. Turnovers were a little bit of an issue, especially in the first half. NDSU finishes with 17 total turnovers in the game. And like I mentioned, there were points where they thought, okay, they're going to run away with it, and then Oral Roberts came back and made it a ball game. It looked like there was a solid crowd there on their home floor. Maybe that helped out a little bit. But nonetheless, Avery Coonan, another big game, another double-double for her. She's now up to 21 straight games in double figures. That's pretty good. 9th double-double on the season for her as well. 7th in the last 8 games. So NDSU, they got Denver coming up on Saturday, so the quick turnaround is already in motion. Some other scores around the Summit League for women's basketball. Denver beat North Dakota. We'll talk about that game coming up later on in the show with one of our guests, Tom Miller, joining us. 64-57 was the score of that game. And the other Summit League game, no surprise, they've done it again. South Dakota State with a win over the Tommies from St. Thomas, 67-49. Brooklyn Meyer goes off for 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. I think the number of straight conference wins for SDSU is like 64 or 65, something like that. Nonetheless, really, really impressive number. Will the Bison get it done this year? That's the big question as we go throughout Summit League play, no doubt. On the men's side of things, in action yesterday, North Dakota with a win over Oral Roberts. NDSU, the men's team, will take on Oral Roberts tomorrow. 72-61 was the winning score for the Fighting Hawks. And South Dakota State got the win over Omaha yesterday as well, 84-69. So that's the update around the conference. We'll go deeper into that coming up later on in the show in our first hour. Before we go to break, some big news as we continue on with the headlines. Big news for a former Bison quarterback. With Week 18 looming right around the corner, the Miami Dolphins announced yesterday that they're going to go out and they're going to grab Cam Miller from the Raiders practice squad and immediately throw him on to the 53-man roster for the final week. Very exciting news for Cam Miller. He was drafted in the 6th round by the Raiders right after Tommy Mellott at 215. He's been on the practice squad all year. In my opinion, he had a really, really good preseason for the Raiders this past year. But Miami decides, you know what, we're going to go out and get him. And this is what their offensive coordinator had to say as to the reasoning why they like Cam so much. Here's what he had to say.
He showed great anticipation, conviction, toughness, had a really good understanding of their offense, had really good playing and timing and rhythm. So he was a guy that we came out of the draft and or through the draft process that we really liked, and we're glad it kind of all worked out.
That's offensive coordinator for the Dolphins, Frank Smith, keeping tabs on Cam ever since he was in college up here in Fargo at North Dakota State. Like what he brings to the table. Now, here's the deal with this. The Dolphins have a ton of quarterbacks on their roster right now. Cam is not expected to play on Sunday. they've been told that this move is more so to get Cam in the building for the offseason. Quinn Ewers, the former Texas quarterback who was picked up in the 7th round, is expected to start his 3rd game on Sunday. Again, the Dolphins play New England coming up in a couple of days. Zach Wilson, former Jets legend, is still on the Miami Dolphins. I was wondering where he went. He's on Miami. He's expected to remain the backup. Tua is not active. They've shut down Tua for the rest of the way. So Cam, is he going to play? Doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. But good news is they want him around. They want him around the organization, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. It's been quite the stretch for Cam. You'll remember that Tom Brady vouched for him before the NFL draft. Loved his potential, loved his arm, loved his speed. So he's already got that under his belt. And then the Dolphins were also in the headlines again yesterday for a different thing. They are bringing in Troy Aikman. You'll know him from Monday Night Football, right there next to Joe Buck in the booth. Former Dallas Cowboys great quarterback. Troy Aikman is going to advise the organization in their search for their next general manager. So I don't know. If I were Cam, maybe I can try to get some advice from Aikman while he's around the building. Also, other former Bison quarterbacks making news. The Chargers have announced earlier this week that Trey Lance is going to get the start in Week 18. They're going to sit Justin Herbert, and they're going to go with Trey Lance. So congratulations to him. Hopefully he can make the most of this, and we'll see what the future holds for Mr. Lance. His brother, Bryce, big offseason coming for him. I have a feeling his name's going to get called pretty high in the NFL draft. So we'll see what Trey can do coming up in the final week of the NFL season. We're going to do a lot more. Again, as I told you, we may or may not have Dom on the show later on this morning. If we don't, we'll get into some NFL picks. Let's set up the show for this morning. Here's who we got coming on. Our guest lineup brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. At 9:35, our guy from the Grand Forks Herald, Tom Miller, will join us. We'll chat what's going on up at UND on the basketball side of things. Of course, transfer portal news and UND football, FCS National Championship, you name it. We got a lot to get to with Tom Miller coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, excited for this conversation, reintroducing you to the North Dakota State cornerbacks coach. Lewis Walker will join us to start hour number 2, back after a short another stint at Monmouth, I should say, and looking forward to hearing what he had to say, what went into this decision to come on back to NDSU, and what he's looking forward to for 2026. That's coming up after a little bit. And again, if Dom's dad's not on the show today, so if you're sitting around waiting for him, we're giving him the week off. I apologize on that. We may get Dom at 10:35, depending on when his plane lands. If not, we'll get to picks. That's the update on that. All right, let's break. When we come back, busy day in the college football playoffs. We'll recap those 3 games. That's coming up on the other side when Hot Mike returns. Welcome back on this Friday morning, second day of 2026. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo. He will be back on Monday, potentially see him later on today. All right, busy day yesterday in the college football playoffs in the FBS ranks. 3 games happening yesterday in the quarterfinal round. Of course, we already seen Miami win their quarterfinal game. They had their ticket punch to the semis. Let's recap all the action that we saw yesterday. We'll start in the Orange Bowl, the 4-5 matchup that happened right at 11 o'clock yesterday afternoon after our program went off the air. Oregon versus Texas Tech. An established Big Ten team against Texas Tech, the up-and-comers. Here's how things went down. A trip to the college football playoff semifinals on the line. Oregon comes out, and they elect to try to go for the fake punt. James Ferguson Reynolds completes it on 4th and 3. Oregon's gamble pays off. This would be a common theme in the first half for Oregon. Later in the drive, Dante Moore, their stud quarterback, going to the left side, down the sideline, finds his wide receiver, Malik Benson, who somehow stays in bounds. That puts Oregon in amazing field position. But the drive continues. It's now 4th and goal from the 2. They're trying to gamble once again. Moore rolling out. His pass towards the end zone is batted down, so empty-handed comes Oregon early in the ball game. They did lead 3-0 after that point. with a field goal earlier in the game. Later on, Texas Tech looking to pound the ground and a fumble. Cameron Dickey loses the football. Brandon Finney for Oregon is there to pick it up. They would settle for a field goal after that. But the fumbles would continue. Baron Morton, their stud quarterback for Texas Tech, gets it stripped. And, I'm going to try to say this name, bear with me. Mateo Ungalalele. That's a hard one to say. But he goes in and puts Oregon into great field position down inside of the 10-yard line. It didn't take long for the Ducks to strike. On the sweep to the right side, Jordan Davison pushes his way in, and Oregon's off to a commanding lead, 13-0. Still 13-0. Morton going downfield, and now there's some life for Texas Tech. Terrence Carter Jr. gets him inside the red zone. This is the same drive. Morton to the corner of the end zone, and he's picked off. Oh, a heartbreaker. 2 interceptions and a forced fumble. It's a good day for the Oregon defense, and they get the sack to wrap it up, and the Ducks move on 23-0 against Texas Tech. Again, the Red Raiders, former Bison safety Cole Wisniewski is on the Red Raiders. He wrapped up his college career in yesterday's game. Decent game for Cole, 6 tackles, TFL in the Orange Bowl. His career is now done. We'll see what the next level brings after transferring from NDSU to Texas Tech. In total this season, finishes with 72 total tackles, a sack, 2 forced fumbles, over 5 pass breakups. So a solid year for Cole Wisniewski, but his collegiate career has come to an end. So one stinker in the quarterfinal round, it was in the books after midday yesterday. Let's go to the other one. Number 1 Indiana against number 9 Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Packed crowd. Of course, it's been raining all week in Pasadena, but the skies cleared just in time for the Rose Bowl game, and it was all Indiana Hoosiers in this one. Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza connecting with Charlie Becker. That would give Indiana a 10-0 lead early in the ballgame. Ty Simpson for Alabama. He's been a stud all year. This was a tough way for his season to end. He elects to scramble, does not go down, fumbles the football. Indiana would take over, and the scarier news for the Crimson Tide, their starting quarterback would get injured on this play. And spoiler alert, he would not return. Tough news right before the half. Mendoza again, right on the 2-yard line, flicking it into the corner of the end zone. Amar Cooper Jr. is there. It's a 17-0 lead for the Hoosiers at the half. Pretty impressive. Under 12 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Indiana, Mendoza rolling out, and he scrambles for 12 yards, gets a new set of downs. Later in the drive, it's 3rd and 1 at the Alabama 24. Mendoza, man, he puts it into pockets, doesn't he? He's an impressive quarterback. Elijah Sherratt with the touchdown. Indiana's now up 24-0 on Alabama. When did you ever think you would hear those words? Well, it happened yesterday. Ty Simpson still in pain. Thought maybe he could come back, but nope, it's not going to happen. So Austin Mack, their backup quarterback, finished out the rest of the game. And then Indiana decided to run all over Alabama, especially late in the ball game. Kalen Black with a long rushing touchdown. And then here, Roman Hemby, pretty much cookie cutter to that one, breaks through the traffic and climbs his way to the end zone. 38-3, the final score for the number 1 seeded Hoosiers. 38-3 in the Rose Bowl. I was sitting there watching this game yesterday, and Kirk Herbstreit had a lot of thoughts to share on that game, and I think he was right. It was jarring to see Alabama just get absolutely dominated. For most of my lifetime, I'm 26 years old. For most of my lifetime, Alabama has been the cream of the crop in college football. They've been the team to beat, undefeated, one-loss seasons. And to see them just get dismantled by what used to be a Big Ten bottom dweller. Not anymore. Kurt Cignetti, former JMU coach. Indiana's in a good spot. If you didn't believe in him then, earlier in the season, you should probably believe in him now. Looking pretty good. So that sets up the semifinal of Indiana and Oregon. We'll get to that bracket in just a second. Our final game, after 2 stinkers, we finally got a good one. Final game of the day. Georgia and Ole Miss, the 3-6 matchup in the All-State Sugar Bowl. The winner moving on to the college football playoff semifinals. They would take on the 10-seed Miami in the Fiesta Bowl. This was really, really exciting. Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, is a Division II transfer from Ferris State. He did not look like it yesterday, although Ole Miss struggled early. This is a fumble from their stud running back, Huon Lacey, and it's taken back the other way. Georgia was off to a roaring start in this game. 21-12, Elijah Griffin with that scoop and score for the Georgia Bulldogs. We go to 15 seconds left in the first half, and this was a mess, a train wreck. Trinidad Chambliss completes a pass, near the sideline. There's no timeouts. You got to run out of bounds. But the receiver did not do that. He cut to the middle of the field, and then they try to go for the fire drill, and just a complete disaster. So 21-12 going into the break, no points on the board. Obviously, Ole Miss and their coaching staff not happy with that. Later in the second half, here's Lacey redeeming himself, going out to the right side, finds his way into the end zone. Now the Rebels at this point would trail 24-19 after 3 quarters. Still a game. Georgia still in control, however. Later in the ballgame, Chambliss dropping back. He was evading pressure all game long. Really impressive with his legs. Throws a dart downfield, 44-yard pickup. And he's got Ole Miss in a prime opportunity with under 14 minutes left to go. They put it back on the ground. Here's Lacey shifting through the traffic. Ole Miss is now on top, 25-24. They'll go for 2. Back of the end zone, 2-point conversion is good. 27-24. Ole Miss with the lead. 9 minutes left to go. Looking to extend on that lead. Chambliss again with a floater. His receiver Wallace able to make the grab. It's a 10-point game with 7 minutes left to go. And Gunnar Stockton, the Georgia quarterback, has had a great career. Able to help Georgia back within a score. They would kick a field goal with under a minute left to go, and then that would set up Ole Miss with a couple of plays to get them into prime field goal position. Another bomb by Trinidad Chambliss gets Ole Miss down to the 30-yard line, and they got a boomer of a kicker, Lucas Carnero, 47-yarder to essentially seal the deal for the Rebels. Impressive. So a couple of upsets on that side of the bracket. Ole Miss takes down Georgia. Miami takes down Ohio State. So that's your semifinal in the Fiesta Bowl. In the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, it's Oregon and Indiana. 4 teams with hopes of making it to the championship game on January 19th. Fun day of football in the FBS ranks yesterday. All right, with that being said, we're due for a break. Our guy Tom Miller is waiting in the wings. We'll chat more college basketball, college football. When we come back on the other side, Hot Mike rolls on after this. Welcome back on this Friday morning edition of Hot Mike. Thanks for joining us as we wrap up the week. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom this week. He'll be back on Monday. Let's hop into our first guest of the day. Happy to welcome in from the Grand Forks Herald, Tom Miller, to talk about what's going on in the Summit League, also what's going on in college football. Tom, I appreciate you taking some time. I hope your holiday break is going well, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Ready to be back and start a new year with you guys.
I know. I'll get back in the full swing. We were talking next week. Hopefully there's some normalcy. I haven't seen a person around here in a long time. Want to talk about what's going on in college basketball, get an update on UND, both on the men's and the women's side of things. UND men's basketball is looking pretty good as of late. They've won 4 out of their last 6. It's been an impressive stretch for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to consider who they're playing sometimes, but beating Oral Roberts was a nice way to start conference play. They've got some issues offensively at times that they battle through, but defensively, they're a much improved group from a year ago because it really could have gone pretty hard south this year when you look at losing Eagle Steph and you lose Mark Kaluovich to Missouri State and you lose Mir Panoam to Xavier. They had a lot to replace, and I think Paul Sather's done a pretty good job of patching it up in a year here. and having a team that's at least ready to compete in the Summit League here.
What'd you notice from the game yesterday against Oral Roberts? You and I were talking off air. It was a big performance by George Nashvili. I do my best to say his name, but he had a big game. What'd you see in the matchup against the Golden Eagles yesterday?
Yeah, no matter how many times I spell it, it looks wrong every time.
Right,
you know? So, I thought Nashvili gave them a much-needed inside presence because that's where they really struggle to get their points if they're not going to get them from George. So, I thought Eli King was kind of who he is, and then outside of those two, that's where North Dakota just needs to develop a little bit more. Grayson Ullman has been up and down at times. Zach Kraft can provide some outside pop. Garrett Anderson can do some of the same. But they really need to be good defensively because they're not remarkably talented offensively.
Yeah.
So that's going to be where they have to hang their hat. And they're going to have to take care of the ball better than they did against Oral Roberts. They turned it over 14 times, and they're going to lose most games in which they lose the turnover battle.
Oral Roberts comes down to Fargo to take on North Dakota State on Saturday. For all the Bison fans watching and are getting ready to go to that game, what did you notice from Oral Roberts? It's been a long time since they were a dominant force at the mid-major level, hasn't it been?
Yeah, they've got some well-traveled transfers, it looks like. It really jumped out at me that they just weren't very deep. I think North Dakota, had an edge in bench points, 30-6. I would imagine that their top player, the transfer from Youngstown State, I think is a Ty Harper. He had an off day, 2 for 11 against North Dakota. I think he's been pretty consistently in double figures, so I would expect him to have a bounce back performance. Good size in the paint there. I'd butcher his name, but Yudo Yamanuchi.
Some of these names in the Summit League, they're just fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah. Coming from Tom Miller, I have a hard time relating to this.
Right.
But, Oral Roberts has some nice talent. They just don't seem to have enough guys, and I think you saw it in their bench points. They played hard, forced North Dakota into, like I said, 14 turnovers. That was a little uncharacteristic of what UND's been, but they're going to need more out of that Ty Harper because I wasn't overly impressed with what they have right now.
Okay, so we'll see again. North Dakota State taking on Oral Roberts coming up tomorrow. That game is on the CBS Sports Network. Have you had a chance to look around the Summit League on the men's basketball side of things? Is there anything that stands out to you? Obviously, St. Thomas is very good. North Dakota State's having a great season. What do you make of where the Summit League is at on the men's side?
Yeah, I think you hit on it. It looks like North Dakota State and St. Thomas and everybody else right now. South Dakota State seemingly will just always be in the mix.
Right.
I haven't taken a good, strong look at what they've got right now, but, by the looks of the reports, looks like South Dakota's in a tough place with injuries. So, North Dakota's just got to get into a place they can pick up some Summit League wins here. It looks like I would imagine that they should have a shot, at least at home, to win against most of the league. And, I'll be very curious to see how their lineup kind of evolves as this goes on, because I don't know if they're completely set on who their 7, 8, 9, 10 guy are.
All right. Let's transition over to the women's side in the Summit League, and then for UND, it has been a rough go at it this year, hasn't it been?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be hard to really change the formula.
Yeah.
Right. Like the data points that don't seem to change are you're going to turn it over more than 20 times, and you're going to shoot worse than 25% from three, and you're going to try to develop some kids. You're going to try to get them some experience to get them, headed on the right path to help you in the future. But it's going to be a tough go of it. I think fans are going to have a hard time being patient this winter because you look back and you lose. I don't know what percentage it was of their scoring, but you start going down the list, and it's Jocelyn Schiller, Kira Pemberton, Ferrara Horn. So they lost. A ton of what I thought were the building blocks of the future there this last offseason. So, Dennis Hutter's got to try to get in, establish his principles, and get his base collected and see who's going to be on his roster moving forward here.
North Dakota fell to Denver yesterday. A fairly close game, 64-57. They will go to Oral Roberts coming up on Saturday. So that's what's going on at Summit League in the world of basketball. Let's turn our attention over to some FCS football. Obviously, the transfer portal window is open, but we got the FCS championship on Monday, Illinois State, Montana State. Do you got any thoughts on the preview for this game or a prediction at all? Who you think's going to come out on top?
Well, it's kind of funny that those are the two teams that emerged from my perspective, because North Dakota had the toughest schedule in the FCS, and so I got a chance to see Montana, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, South Dakota, and these are the two teams that emerged that I didn't get a chance to see. But anybody who, Montana was looking so strong, and for Montana State to do what they did, I thought. Was very impressive. And then on the other side of things, for Illinois State to go to Fargo and win, good for that program to kind of emerge from the shadow of the Dakotas a little bit. Hard to say how that one's going to go, just because those are randomly two teams I didn't see this year.
Right, exactly. Illinois State, who's been on the road forever, it seems like, and just continues to win. I've said it on this show a lot. I love the story. I love an underdog story. It just so happened they had to run through Fargo to get that underdog story on the road. It's a really good Missouri Valley Football Conference team. I wouldn't count them in as a complete stomping on Monday. I think they have an opportunity to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't count out a team that's seasoned, that's gone through the Missouri Valley Football Conference. That it's remarkable what they've done on the road, because I've had a chance over my time to see like what the road can do, and even this season, seeing North Dakota go to Nashville and then go to Dallas essentially in back-to-back weeks. I can see how that takes a toll on a team. For Illinois State to do that week after week is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't envision that they're an underdog. I think that Montana State, though, has the benefit of having Coach Vegan and having a guy who's been through the Valley and knows maybe what those strengths are, and has had an opportunity over the years to really strengthen his line of scrimmage, because that's where the Big Sky historically has had a hard time matching up with the Missouri Valley.
No doubt. Again, that game's coming up on Monday evening. You can watch that on ESPN. We'll remind you of that later on in the show. What's the update on UND football this offseason? Of course, the transfer portal officially opens today. They've fallen a little victim. You have a good season, guys are going to go. If you end up on a conference list, you're going to get some attention. Has that been the case over the last couple of months?
Yeah, to some extent. I think the biggest thing, from my point of view, would be that North Dakota was able to announce the entire starting regulars coming back outside of Seth Anderson, who's graduated now. Because I've seen what it looks like when you've got to go fishing in the portal for offensive linemen, and when you're in the FCS, that's an awful place to be. I look back, it was a few years ago, but UND had an offensive lineman who was on the outside of UND's top 5. Braden Bryant was kind of like their 6th offensive lineman. He enters the transfer portal, goes to San Diego State, becomes kind of a regular there. And it just kind of shows that the Missouri Valley has really good offensive linemen, and trying to find guys to replace that group is incredibly challenging. And so that was really important for North Dakota, because, like you mentioned, they did lose Sawyer Seidel to the transfer portal. And every day that goes by, I assume that BJ Fleming will remain on the way out. He entered the transfer portal. There was some buzz that perhaps that was a little premature. But now that we're in early January, I have a hard time seeing his return.
Right.
We'll see. It'd be interesting to see who North Dakota is able to find to come in the transfer portal, because I thought that was a big piece of Eric Schmidt's success here in his first season. Was able to find guys like Zach Lewis at safety and Fleming from Northern Arizona. As the portal gives on both ends there.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the positive news here for Fighting Hawks football fans is that Jerry Kaminsky has announced he's coming back. That's a good sign, but even bigger sign, Rucker on the defensive side, Lance Rucker coming back. That's huge for this football team in 26.
Yeah, I think the Lance Rucker piece was fairly surprising. I thought that particularly when you get in the playoffs and you impact games the way he did in the playoffs, I thought that he would be attracting more eyeballs. And I think he did. And I think that he passed on some significant offers. And I think North Dakota did the best that North Dakota can do to retain somebody like that. But when he got hurt against Tarleton State, that game took on a significantly different appearance. When Tarleton could drop back and let those talented wide receivers develop in that offense.
I want to get an outside perspective from you on this. Obviously, North Dakota State fans are feeling it this week with now 6 guys with starting experience, a lot of All-Americans into the transfer portal. Do you have a reaction what's happened down here with North Dakota State for the last week?
Yeah, honestly, I guess when I see that transpire, it kind of, just makes me think like it's shocking that it took this long, really, for that, at the FCS level, in these markets in Fargo and Grand Forks, it's going to be hard to pay guys.
Yeah.
You're talking about different money, and I'd be curious to talk to donors and fundraisers. Is there a point in this market of donor fatigue?
Yeah.
How many times can you go back and say, hey, we got to keep Cole Wisniewski, or we got to keep Cole Payton, and now every year it's somebody new, and sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't, and do donors feel like they're getting the return on investment?
Yeah.
Those are conversations that are happening all over the country, but I think we're probably at a pivotal point here in the FCS and the Dakotas here of this is just the normal, right? For now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's going to be an interesting 2-week stretch here. You bring up a good point. We'll see if there is donor fatigue as the year goes on. But college football is changing. There's no doubt about that. Tom, I appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the weekend. Sounds like you're going to the Vikings game, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to check out.
What a ball game that's going to be, huh?
Pack. Everybody thought this was going to be a crucial divisional matchup with playoffs on the line, so I'll be there for it.
Oh, man. What a fun one that's going to be. We'll preview the Vikings game a little bit later on in the show. Appreciate it. Enjoy your time there at U.S. Bank Stadium's fun. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely. Good to chat with you. Take care.
Absolutely. Tom Miller joining us from the Grand Forks Herald, getting the latest on what's going on with Summit League basketball and college football around the FCS level. Interesting. I agree with that, too, on the donor fatigue. How long can this go? If is there a return on investment? How do you measure that? It's just an interesting world that we live in with college football. Again, portal officially open today. 6 guys now. We can officially say 6 guys. Eric, any updates on what you've been strolling and seeing? I don't see anything yet, so I don't think there's anything new since we started the show. 6 starters, couple of offensive linemen, edge guy, couple cornerbacks, kicker, and now you can throw in the long snapper for North Dakota State and Caleb Bowers. That's the news that came down this morning since the portal's been open since midnight. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, let's go to some more portal news before we get into hour number 2. And a reminder for you, Lewis Walker joining us in just a little bit to start the 10 o'clock hour. Looking forward for that conversation. Hot Mic continues when we come back. Final hour, first hour, wrapping up on this Friday morning. Ready for the weekend, no doubt about that. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo. Again, Dom still listed as questionable as a potential appearance later on in the show. You're just going to have to find out at 10:35. If we do NFL picks, he's still in the air. If we don't, then we'll get an update from Dom on how his week has been, what he's got going on this weekend, his thoughts on everything that's been going on back here at home. Of course, he's down to Nashville getting ready for the FCS National Championship and for the Walter Payton Award ceremony he's hosting coming up tomorrow. Great to have on Tom Miller from the Grand Forks Herald joining us just a couple of moments ago, chat about what's going on in the Summit League on the basketball side of things and also in the transfer portal world and college football. A lot of transfer portal news, not just at the FCS level, but FBS is ripping and roaring as well. The Gophers had some interesting news come their way yesterday. Some good and some bad. We'll start with the bad if you're a Gophers fan. Their stud, Coy Parrish, he is off. He's leaving. See you later. Coy, the DB from Esco, Minnesota, a two-way guy now, wants to be the next Travis Hunter. Oh, he was phenomenal in high school. Big-time get for the Gophers, but he has announced that he is gone. Good kick returner as well. Pete Thamel reporting this news. Freshman All-American in 24, multiple All-Big Ten teams. Can you blame him? He's one of the better players in college football across the country. I imagine the price tag's going to be pretty high for old Coy, excuse me. He had 89 receiving yards this year, nothing crazy. Finished with 39 interceptions, had a couple of big plays, big turnovers throughout the year. Forced fumble and an interception. He's going to go big time, either Big Ten, SEC, ACC, not 100% sure, but the money's going to be there. There's no doubt about that. Other big news before we go to break here that involves a local kid and the Gophers. Carter Menz, their stud edge rusher, who had a really good year. He announced a new deal that's going to bring him back to Minnesota. The sophomore now had 32 tackles, 9 TFLs, and 6.5 sacks this year. That's pretty good. And it sounds like this deal that's being reported by our friend Chris Hummer is going to potentially make him one of the highest paid edges in the Big Ten. That's big stuff. So congrats to Carter Menz. Sympathies to the Gophers for losing Coy to the transfer portal. That being said, let's take a break. When we come back, fun conversation coming up. The newest, or we'll reintroduce you. That's a better way to phrase it. Lewis Walker joining us, the newest Bison cornerbacks coach. That's coming up to start hour number 2 when we come back on WDAY Extra.
This is Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY.
Recording in progress.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Back for hour number 2, Friday morning edition of Hot Mike. Rolls on. Thanks for joining us on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNB in Rapid City, also streaming on inform.com. Really looking forward to this conversation with our next guest. If you remember earlier this week on Wednesday, it was announced that the Bison have found their next guy to coach the cornerbacks after Will Johnson announced that he's going to be the DB's coach at Central Florida. Let's reintroduce you to Lewis Walker, who makes a return to the program and also to North Dakota State. Lewis, congratulations. Also a reminder, Lewis's appearance is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Congratulations on the gig. Give us some insight on what the last couple of weeks have been like for you.
Yeah, so the last couple of weeks, you go through it, you end a season and you're looking for that hopeful of a playoff berth and you don't get in there, sitting there trying to revamp and now get into the whole recruiting process and self-scouting and everything. And then the opportunity to come back here and get in contact with these guys here, it popped up and, great opportunity. And it was just a no-brainer for me.
How quickly did all this move? I know in your profession, things move fast when there's an opening. How fast did this go from the time your season ended to where you're at right now?
It went fast. By the time the season ended and we were sitting there and, our head coach retired at Monmouth University and I just reached out and always kept in contact. And this thing kind of turned around in days, and so it was these guys were obviously still playing, and it was probably a little bit after the Illinois State game that really started heating up.
Wow, things move quickly. There's no doubt about that. Again, Lewis Walker joining us, the next North Dakota State cornerbacks coach. How does it feel to be back in town? You were here in 2022 and 2023 coaching this same position group. A lot has changed since then. How does it feel to be back in the facility?
No, it's great. When you got a place like this, when you have a foundation of the culture and the support, not a lot of things from a foundational standpoint change, but everything's always evolving. You're always trying to get better. Obviously, I was here when Coach Paulsek first got the job and had some great conversations with him before I decided to go to the opportunity to be a defensive coordinator, and never lost contact. And so it was just a great relationship there. But looking forward to being back here in this program and, with the fan base, the support that we have here, and then being able to get here and help develop these guys to continue what the standard is at this program, and that's winning national championships.
So when you were here for the 2 years, before you came to North Dakota State for the first stint, you were over at Monmouth, and then the opportunity came up to become a defensive coordinator back at Monmouth after the 2023 season. What was that opportunity like to have the chance to do that and get into a bigger role in a familiar place for you?
Yeah, it's always about growth in this profession and the opportunities and experience. And I think that being at Monmouth for 5 years and knowing what that program is, the support that they have there, the good people that they have there, and then coming here and just learning and growing and sitting in a room and finding out those little things that another program may not have, and being able to learn and grow from that and go there, take some things from here, take some things that I learned while I was at Monmouth, as well as a lot of other places in terms of professional development, and get an opportunity to sit in that coordinator chair and now look at it from a bird's eye view rather than from a positional standpoint. And so it was a great opportunity, man. Learned a ton, had a lot of fun doing it.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. We had Cody Morgan on the show when he announced his decision or when the decision was announced that he was coming back to North Dakota State. He spent time as a defensive coordinator as well. You can just see things from a different lens, right? And now going back to a position group, that's got to help you moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. You look at it, if you start out in the positional standpoint and you're looking at that, trying to execute and be able to get those guys to play at a high level from their standpoint, and not really knowing everything else, what the defensive tackles are doing or what the defensive end on the opposite side of the field from you is doing, because it might not matter to what your job responsibility is. And so now you just be able to develop these guys at a higher level in terms of an IQ standpoint of, this is the system, this is the structure, this is the scheme. These are the ways that you can help yourself out by knowing these things. And that's all part of the development from a positional standpoint as well. But to heighten that IQ for those guys, for now, me being in that lens and seeing it from that way, I think it's going to be something that's going to help these guys elevate the play.
Since you've been back here, I'm sure you've had the opportunity to reintroduce yourself to the entire staff, even though you know them. There's a lot of familiar faces, and I think that's one of the beauties of this North Dakota State football program. Since you left, there's been a lot of faces that you recognize that are still here, just in different roles. Has that made things a little bit more comfortable in this transition back?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously from a defensive standpoint, Grant Olson was the linebackers coach, and we all know his tenure here in this NDSU program, and now being in that chair of the defensive coordinator is something that's very familiar, understand the system, although there's things that have changed. So I'm looking forward to getting in and diving into that. Obviously, Cody and I worked hand in hand in the secondary my first stint here, which learned a ton from him. And now he's in a new role, learning something new, and they execute at a high level.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've known Carlton Littlejohn from whenever I was here, and he'd work our camps, and obviously an outstanding alumni. And then the one that I'm really, really excited about, obviously, with Devin Kleinman and Marcus Williams, getting together with those guys and being able to continue to go. And then obviously the offensive side of the ball, there's some new faces, but a lot of the same people, just kind of musical chairs that have moved around in different growth positions for them as well. So very comfortable. The energy Coach Paulsek brings, I'm really excited about that, to match that and continue to elevate what he's building here.
I want to talk about the corners coming up for 2026 in just a moment, but let's retrace back a little bit. While you were at Monmouth, how closely are you keeping an eye on North Dakota State over the last couple of seasons? Obviously, both of you guys in the FCS, how closely were you keeping up with your former team?
Yeah, this is whenever I first came here to NDSU from Monmouth the first time, every week I'd watch it. Now the time is a little different in terms of the games, but every week I'm watching and keeping up with the scores and sending messages to these guys, just congratulating them, asking questions, and just sitting back and watching and just enjoying what they were doing out there on the field. So still have a bit of familiarity with with what they were doing here. Now it's time to build those relationships with the current players on the roster right now.
What did you think about last season and how it ended? They go undefeated in the regular season, and then things didn't bounce their way in the postseason. Do you have any thoughts about how last year went?
Yeah, it's always tough when you play an in-conference opponent at the end of the year, and then you go and that's a tough game, and then now all of a sudden you're in this playoff spot and you're playing them again a few weeks later. I think it's something where those are the things that you dial in, and it's like, man, well, one, how did that game get scheduled that way with it being a conference and just played them a few weeks ago, and then now you got to go back and do it again. But it's hard to beat someone once, especially in the Missouri Valley Conference or football in general, but to play someone twice in a year and very close, and especially a program that's as familiar with each other as it was, and unfortunate the ball didn't bounce the way that we wanted it to go there, but still, it was still a good year. But we know what the standard is here, and we say it's not good enough. So here we go, hitting the ground running again.
Well, let's look ahead to this upcoming college football season. Obviously, it's going to be a very busy offseason for you and the entire staff. This past week, we've learned the news that there's been a couple of guys with starting experience who have announced they're going into the transfer portal. The cornerbacks group has lost a couple of guys through the transfer portal and also through graduation. But I think you look ahead to this next season, there's a lot of young, really talented players that just maybe don't have the experience as of yet. What excites you when you look at your position group for the upcoming season?
Man, I mean, you got talent everywhere. The development's going to happen. It always does here, especially the way that we practice in this program. Young guys are going to get a ton of reps. So by the time we start the season coming out of fall camp, like, these guys really aren't freshmen anymore, and I think that's the exciting part about it. And you look at the talent pool across, and Coach Will Johnson did a great job of developing those guys, and I look forward to continuing to do that. But there's a lot of talent with those guys, and I look at the class that these guys signed, and those 4 guys coming in as freshmen, they're tremendous athletes and a lot of talent, and we're going to get these guys all ready to play, and whatever hot hand shows up to go, that there's where we're dealing with. And it's always a next man up mentality here. And I think you saw that with Cole Payton stepping in here after sitting behind the quarterbacks that he set here in this program, along with a lot of other people. But when you're here, you're developing and growing. And when your number's called, you're going to be ready. And that's what's going to happen here. But I'm excited to get to work with these corners and continue to build them and develop them as young men and football players and students as well.
I was looking back at the roster, and I think I saw the last time you were here, Najee Nelson and Keegan Huber, they were young freshmen when you were here. Now they've developed more. I imagine it's pretty exciting for you to see them again and see where they're at in their college football career.
Oh, yeah, no question. Watching those guys come in as freshmen and being able to work with them and get their development started. And like I said, these guys have done a great job continuing to do that along with everybody else. But then there was also a familiarity with Antoine Booth, coming out of high school from Maryland. We recruited that area heavy at the previous program I was at. He ended up going to a few other places, tried to get him out of JMU again. He came here to the Bison program, and it's good to see him here and saw him get in some there, and looking forward to it. It's a great opportunity.
What has been priority number one on your list this week for you since you've come back to Fargo? What has been the top of the list?
Communicating with the guys on this current roster. It's always the biggest thing nowadays, and what college athletics and football is your retention, and continue to build those strong relationships and make them understand like they're in this program, the opportunities that could come from it, and continue to go that way. And then obviously with the news of Jaquise and Jalen going into the portal, then you got to find ways to replace experience with experience. But there's a lot of experience and growth in the room, and a lot of talent that's going to come into the room as well. So recruiting after the relationships and introductions to the current roster has been now recruiting to try to fill those places up right now.
Lewis, I appreciate you for taking some time and coming on. I know it's a busy week, and that's going to lead into a couple of more busy weeks. I got it. Before I let you go, I got to ask you about this because this is still a hot topic, apparently. The potato chip incident in 2022 with Dom. Dom's not here. We had Cody on the show back in July. He gave his side. No one's here to fight you on it, so I'll let you take your side of the story here. What happened?
All I have to say is it was a windy day. Everyone's running around that day. I saw the bag of chips, and then the bag of chips were not there. I can't confirm or deny who took those bags of chips. Okay. All I know is when Dom sat down, he asked about the chips. I said, Dom, I didn't eat the chips. So we know Coach Morgan is putting it out there. We got a little battle there on Twitter with Dom involved there too. So We'll give Dom a box of chips here. That'll be my welcome back. For him. He's
gonna love that. He's gonna love that. There's no doubt. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Enjoy your time back here, and best of luck the rest of the way. I know it's a busy time.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. Let's go Bison.
There we go. Lewis Walker joining us, the next North Dakota State cornerbacks coach. It's going to be a fun stretch here for NDSU football. I'm glad he was able to get some time. It's been a pretty chaotic week. He made his way over from the East Coast earlier this week. He's been in meetings. As you heard, he's been reaching out to guys. That cornerback room is an interesting spot right now for NDSU football with ACA Anthony Shademi Alfaro gone to graduation. And then, as we've mentioned throughout the week, Jaquise Alexander and Jalen Duffy going in to the transfer portal. A lot of young talent, no doubt about that, in that position group coming into 2026 and spring ball, which is right around the corner. A lot of talent, just maybe have not had the most college football playing experience. But as you heard Lewis say, it's a developmental program, and next man up, no doubt. I know I'm speaking the cliches right now, but we've seen it time and time again. When someone's gone, the next person enters in, and they've been able to get the job done. We'll see if that's the case, and we'll see if they add anybody in the transfer portal over the next couple of weeks. It's officially open now, and it will go through the 16th. That being said, let's take a break. Let's get you a Vikings update when we come back. Big one against the Green Bay Packers this week. We'll give you the latest on J.J. McCarthy. That's coming up on the other side on Hot Mic. Welcome back. Second hour on this final day of the week continues on. Big thank you to Lewis Walker for joining us. Great conversation with him. Excited to see what he and the rest of the coaching staff are gearing up to do over the next couple of weeks as we get ready for the upcoming college football season for the FCS level. Again, the FCS championship coming up on Monday. Did just get the word. Dom has landed. The plane is touchdown, and we will have him on the show coming up in just a little bit, so be sure to stick around for that. Don't have Dom's dad today, but we got at least one Izzo on the program on a Friday, so we'll take that as a win. So until we get to that point, I want to give you a Vikings update. Of course, the Green Bay Packers on the schedule coming up here in just a couple of days. Vikings, Packers, noon, CBS, U.S. Bank Stadium. Jordan Love is cleared, but Clayton Tune will get the start for Green Bay. That's going to be a riveting matchup. We've been saying it throughout the week. There is nothing on the line for Green Bay, and they're already locked into their spot in the playoffs. Where they're going to go is not up for their call as of right now. There's more on the line for Minnesota, but again, it's better if they lose. Obviously, they're not going to want to lose, and there's some more good news with Minnesota. They're getting healthier. They're going to have potentially J.J. McCarthy back. Practiced in full yesterday. It was a good throwing session. Head coach Kevin O'Connell at media availability had this to say about J.J.'s return to the practice field.
And J.J.'s been a huge part of that, and his continued, really looking at starts 7, 8, and 9, and would love to get him another one, but obviously only if he's medically cleared and can 100% do his job.
So good sign there for Minnesota Vikings fans. J.J. McCarthy slowly working his way back up into the mix. Again, he had that hand injury, and it was all about getting the swelling down and seeing if he could grip the football. He was limited practice on Wednesday, full practice yesterday, so good sign there. Of course, you want to get J.J. McCarthy the reps. There's no doubt about that, and you want to let him let it eat, no doubt. So there's a reason why the Minnesota Vikings, as of right now, where we stand on this Friday, they are 7.5-point favorites against Green Bay since the news of Clayton Tune getting the start. And now if JJ can't go, Max Brosmer will get the start. So could you imagine that quarterback duel in Week 18 of the season? Besides that, there's going to be some guys out for the Minnesota Vikings as well, the usual suspects. It seems like the running backs are getting a little bit healthier. Jordan Mason seems to be climbing back in the mix. Want to let you know what's on the line in this game for the Vikings. If they beat the Packers, the Colts lose at Houston, and Pittsburgh beats Baltimore, it'll be the 18th pick for Minnesota. So that's what has to happen. If the Vikings win, if the Colts lose, which they're gonna, and Pittsburgh beats Baltimore, they'll get the 18th pick. That's the lowest possible selection for a non-playoff team. If the Vikings lose, then they go 8-9. Their draft position will be determined by the results of the other games that include the Buccaneers, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Ravens, and Carolina. For the highest possible pick, the Vikings need to lose, while the Bucs, Cowboys, Colts, Lions, Ravens all win. That's easier said than done. They're in between 13 and 18 right now, depending on how Week 18 falls. Pretty much right in the middle of the pack for Minnesota. Since we're going to have Dom on the show, I'll do a quick picks here. I'll just do a couple of games. I'm not going to do all of them. We'll start with the games on Saturday. Good showing that you're going to find right here on WDAY. You can also catch games on ESPN as well. Carolina, Tampa Bay on Saturday, 3:30. A lot on the line there. Of course, playoff spot is there. Now you can throw Atlanta into the mix in the NFC South. That's going to determine things for Tampa Bay in their game. I'm going to go Carolina for the first game of Week 18 to get the win. Fun one for the NFC West. Seattle and San Francisco, 7 o'clock on ABC, ESPN. That one will decide the 1 seed in the NFC. We had Drew on the show earlier this week. I'm bouncing back and forth. I want to go with San Francisco, but I don't think I'm gonna. I'll go Seattle. I'll go Seattle to win that game and get the 1 seed in the NFC. You see the full list there. Of course, Seattle's the favorite. A tight game, tight favorite there. Elsewhere around, you got Minnesota, Green Bay. Again, that line is -7.5. Minnesota, if everybody's good to go, if JJ is going to get the start. Even if he doesn't, I think Minnesota hammers the Green Bay Packers. Sorry about that, Eric. I know you probably don't care because at the end of the day, the Packers have the last laugh. You guys got the last laugh in the playoffs, and Minnesota does not. My Colts have Houston this week. Oh, man, Houston's 10.5? Oh, jeez. That's not good. That's tough. Obviously, Houston's going to win that game, and the Bills are going to beat the Jets. That's how things are going to roll there. How are the Jets have a smaller line than the Colts do against the Texans? What? Colts are starting Riley Leonard, by the way, if you want to watch some really good quarterback play. That's the one. They just signed Seth Hannigan, the former Memphis quarterback, as well not too long ago. Other big games, you got Kansas and the Raiders. That game has potential number 1 overall draft pick implications on the line. I'll go Kansas City there. Los Angeles, Arizona. I'll go Los Angeles. New England's going to beat Miami, in my opinion. Philadelphia over Washington, and then Baltimore, Pittsburgh's the big one on Sunday Night Football. That one could be intriguing. I will go with Pittsburgh. I haven't been sold on Baltimore, even though they ran all over Eric's Packers the last week. I'll go with Pittsburgh to get the win there. So that's a short and brief version of the picks as of Friday. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Dom's going to join us from wherever in the country he's at right now. I think it's Tennessee. I guess we'll get an answer here in just a couple of moments. Dom will join us when we come back on Hot Mic. All right, welcome back on this Friday morning. About a half hour left to go here on the show to wrap up the week. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo. He is off, I believe, in Nashville, and where he is. And it looks like he's just joining us now. Got him fresh off of the airplane. Let's welcome in the usual host of this program, Dom, joining us from wherever in the country he is. I'll let him tell it in just a moment. Dom, I'm glad you were able to have a safe trip out. How's everything been going so far for you?
Well, first, thank you for welcoming me onto my own show.
It's a weird time every time I do it.
It is. We're here, Sam. This is First Bank Stadium, and this is Vanderbilt University. We're I'd say about 10 minutes from where we were from Nissan Stadium about 3.5 months ago when we were down here for the Bison game against Tennessee State. It's we're going to send some video back later for Inforum.com, maybe for the news here. It's decked out a bit. You can see there's some different signage. I'll get out of the way. You can see a little bit behind me of what's going on. Maybe we can turn it over here to see the actual stadium and everything here. But there's no logos of the teams or anything like that the fans are used to that have come to Frisco in years past to see. I don't know if Vanderbilt didn't allow that. We're going to hopefully talk to a couple of officials here today about that because it still has all the normal Vanderbilt signage, the SEC signage. I'll tell you this, Sam, this is a massive missed opportunity, even more so for Bison fans. This place is fantastic. I would have been really curious if it was North Dakota State, Montana State, what this crowd would have been like down here. As it is, Montana State's going to bring some people. We're not sure how many Illinois State's going to have for the game on Monday night, but it's an SEC setup, man. It's big time down here.
No doubt. We were down there when North Dakota State took on Tennessee State earlier in the year. Really enjoyed that trip. It was a lot of fun, and you're right, a missed opportunity for Bison fans. There's no doubt. What does your schedule look like this weekend? What can we expect?
Well, we've got today's pretty low key here. We're going to go around here and check out the stadium. I'm down here for people that don't know. First off, thank you to filling in for me all week long. It's been a working vacation, probably is the best way to say it. It's the amount of portal news we've had. But I've been asked to MC the Walter Payton ceremony coming up tomorrow night, which is a great honor for me. I'm really excited about that. So that's coming up tomorrow night at 6:30. We're going to stream that at Inforum.com to check that out. So Bo Brungard, Cole Payton, Teron Dickens are the three finalists for the Payton. Buck Buchanan as well is up for grabs. It's really interesting. Andrew Zock is one of the finalists from Mercer. And I was just reading Pete Thamel's report today is Zock is deciding between Colorado and a couple other places. So it's interesting. Braden Atkinson, the quarterback from Mercer, is here. He's in the portal. So it's a delicate balance. We were really hopeful that Jerry Rice was going to be here. You remember, Sam, he was in Frisco last year. This is the 15th anniversary of the Rice Award. He's not going to be here because the 49ers are playing tomorrow night.
Pretty big game,
large game against the Seahawks. So unfortunately, he's not going to be here. But Jared Allen is going to be here. He's going to be presenting the Buck Buchanan Award.
Wow.
He won it. The old Idaho State Bengals. It's a big year for him. The former Viking went into the Viking Ring of Honor, went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in July, and we'll get a chance to interview him tomorrow on the stage. So yeah, it's a busy. I wish we could be here a little bit longer, but flying back on Sunday, so I won't be here for the game. We'll be back in the studio finally on Monday to get ready. But I was just saw my good buddy Sam Herder is here, was on the same flight down with me. So coordinating that. So Sam will be back with us on Monday here in Nashville to preview the game. I've already saw it, Sam. No kidding. Flight down here, I saw 2 Bison fans doing Bison apparel. So there apparently are going to be some here. That's the other part. I'm intrigued to see how many actual North Dakota State fans are making the trip.
I was wondering that too, because, they were going to buy their tickets early, whether North Dakota State was going to make it or not, and just assume that NDSU was going to be in that championship game. So we'll see what the representation is for the green and gold coming up in Nashville. Have your thoughts changed on this game at all as we've gone throughout this period since the semifinals?
Well, Sam and I were just talking about it actually. We got here to the stadium, and I was I've been on the side of Montana State to win the game. I do agree with what I see out of Vegas on how big a spread it is. It's just we saw Illinois State. They have beat the odds all season long after they got whooped by Southern Illinois in the final game of the regular season. The last odds I saw was still 9.5, maybe to 10 points. I think we have a fourth quarter game here. I do believe Montana State is going to win this thing. Everything's pointing that way for Vigs to finally get one. And I was asked this on an earlier show this week about what the rooting interest is in Fargo. I have to think there's a large section of fans that are rooting for the Buxton kid to bring one home.
Yep.
But I also think there's a lot of people that wouldn't be upset if Illinois State won. The Bison can brag about this, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Every year but one, NDSU has lost to the eventual national champion when they didn't win it. They didn't win it in 2010. Eastern Washington beat them. 2016, James Madison won it. Obviously, the Jackrabbits beat them head-to-head for the championship in 2022. The only year it didn't happen was South Dakota State, or Montana, in 2023, and they got to the championship. So I think there might be some that be A-OK on the Redbirds winning this thing.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'm looking at the field behind you. What's the weather like right there? It's 5 degrees here. So it looks really nice.
So, yeah, that's the best part about it. When I was I'll get out of the shot here, but the best part, when I was picking up my rental car, the agent said, boy, it's freezing. I'm like, this is about 50 degrees warmer from where I came from. This is, if Bison fans or Montana State fans would be in shorts on a day like today. It's 50, it's overcast.
Okay.
Apparently we're hearing it's about 60 degrees on Monday. Game time, obviously, at 6:30, it'll be about 45. I mean, it's going to be perfect. You remember last year,
it was freezing.
Texas, it was cold for the national championship game. I don't believe we're going to have that for weather on Monday night down here.
Okay. So we'll keep an update on that. Yeah, that trip in Frisco at the championship game. You saw me. I was cowarding.
Well, you're never prepared for the weather anyway.
No, I'm not. And it definitely wasn't on last year's trip. I know you're busy. You got stuff going on here. I got a couple other things I want to ask you since we haven't seen you on this show for a week. Everything going on with the portal for North Dakota State. What are your thoughts on what this week's been like for Coach Polisek's squad?
Yeah, I'm going to save a lot of my thoughts for Monday when I get back. I will tell you, there's 3 guys we're not surprised on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody's surprised that Bo Johnson is gone. I don't think anybody's surprised that Toby Anene decided to go. Jaquise Alexander was a guy I had heard there was potential there. If you've seen Eli Ozick kick over the last couple of years, the going rate for a good kicker, you watch the college football playoff games.
Yeah.
There's some bad kickers there.
Yeah.
So Eli will be able to get a good chunk of change. I mean, to me, it's tough, and I understand for an older generation of Bison fans, they're going to have a real hard time. A guy like Trent Fraley, who wasn't getting a shot to play at Marshall, the Bison developed him into an All-American, and he leaves. I mean, you can put the tea leaves together. He's likely going to end up at Iowa State with Tyler Roll there. I mean, it's not a done deal, but it's I understand why there could be some frustration. And honestly, I know Polisek, I chatted with him, what's today? Wednesday, that they're going to, I mean, as soon as the portal opened at 12:01, they had some phone calls that they have some meetings going on to replace some guys. Your guy, Caleb Bowers, went in today. That's a 3-year starter.
Yeah.
He's an All-American. Long snapper's people
it's an important position.
will joke at it, but you know what?
It's
He's going
important.
to get paid from somebody in the portal, depending on where he goes. So, yeah, I understand it's tough. The guys there's nobody there, Sam, I guess is the best way to say it, that I didn't expect to go. There's no one like, whoa, that was out of left field. I didn't see that coming. I mean, if you need any validation, look what happened with Marty Brown on Wednesday night.
Absolutely.
Marty goes and scores a touchdown to seal the game against Ohio State in the quarterfinals. I mean, it's the going rate. I got Gopher fans. I already got her blowing up because Coy Parrish is gone and Esco kid that they backed up the truck for. It's
a lot of
money. That's Minnesota. Yeah. That's a Big Ten school, and they can't compete with what he's probably going to get offered.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's been interesting to see what's popping up already today. Of course, we've seen Carter Menz. Got another deal with Minnesota. Is going to get a pretty big contract to stick around and be one of the top-paid edge rushers in the Big Ten. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Bison basketball women, they got the win yesterday. Yeah. That's a big one. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Well, it got dicey at the end. I mean, it was a 15-point lead, and then I stepped away and came back, and the lead was 4. I'm like, whoa. But I think they had the stat last night, Sam. They haven't won there in 6,000 days.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The last time they
won.
I was still anchoring the weekends at WDAY when they won that game. You probably could dig up the archive video of that when they beat Oral Roberts. That's a monster win. I think Jory even said it to us both after the game on Monday. Like, it's one we really want. Now, here's the thing. You got to come back. They're flying today to Denver. That's not an easy deal.
Right.
Denver's not good. I know they beat UND yesterday, but this is not one you want to trip up knowing You got a couple of home games coming up next week. It's fun. I mean, we've been saying this for a month and a half. I hope people will go, and you're going to be at the game tomorrow. I hope it's a really good crowd for the game with Oral Roberts, but there's some good hoops going on the north side of Fargo.
No doubt. We had Lewis Walker on the show just a couple of minutes ago. He cannot confirm or deny who took your chips, but he says it wasn't him. So that's his response to the chip disappearance of 22.
That has been a running gag for 3 years. It's awesome to see him back. I will fill everybody in on that story. Eric knows it well. By the way, I did have an email come in because I don't know if you mentioned this or I haven't watched the show all week. Did Eric really win a year's worth of gas?
Can you believe that?
I had 2 emails from viewers asking me about can he get sponsored about this.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, it sounds like he he entered into a grand opening quick trip drawing. Gets the call earlier this week that he's getting free gas for a year. He's freaking out in the station. So I mentioned it on the air, and then at the Bison basketball game, the men's game against South Dakota earlier this week, he was getting stopped left and right. He was a local celebrity.
This almost overtakes his horrendous goulash take that he had a couple years ago that got people going up, but that's a heck of a way to start 2026.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome stuff.
Good start to the year. Well, you have fun down there in Nashville. If you can grab some Hattie B's and stuff it into the suitcase to bring back, that would be fantastic. I would appreciate that.
I think that's lunch coming up here in a little bit. That's where I think that's where I think I'm heading, though. But thanks for holding the fort down, bud. You did a great job, and look forward to being back in the big chair on Monday.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope for safe travels and a clean trip. We know your history with air travels, and who knows if anything will get delayed or not. But I'll be on standby just in case.
Thanks, bud. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy the weekend down there in Nashville. Dom Izzo, the usual host of this show, joining us on the program. That was interesting. It's always an interesting feel when you introduce the host to his own show and then interview the host to his own show. That was quite the deal. But he's got a fun weekend coming up here. Again, the Walter Payton Awards ceremony coming up at 6:30 tomorrow. You can watch it on inform.com. We'll see if Cole Payton's name is announced. That would be pretty interesting. Bo Brungard is likely been the favorite throughout the year, or throughout the back half of the year for sure. He's in the mix there. Teron Dickens from Western Carolina in the mix too. So that's where Dom's at. Be sure to catch his coverage coming up on our news at 6 to 10 throughout the weekend. So great to hear from him. As he mentioned, it's been a working week for him. He's been working from home, but he's been doing a ton of work on this vacation. So glad it's paying off with a fun trip to Nashville. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we got a ton of stuff to talk about in our What to Watch throughout the rest of the weekend. Lot happening. We'll wrap up this Friday morning when we come back on Hot Mic.
Would you like Eric to come on and tell his story about his free gas?
Yeah, I do. Welcome back on this Friday morning edition of Hot Mic, wrapping things up with a couple of more minutes left to go. Big thanks to Dom for stepping in and joining us from Nashville. Busy weekend for him. I wanted to bring in Eric, who's been in the back all week pressing the buttons. And we've been talking about this gas story. So I'm going to give you the opportunity, a couple of minutes. You have the floor. What happened? Because I know you've been very popular with this story this week.
Yeah, so I think this was like the beginning of December. I went curling with my wife's work, and we decided to stop at Quick Trip before.
Did you say curling?
Yeah, curling.
Oh
my gosh, I looked like Bambi on ice.
I was gonna say that's not easy to do.
No, it's not easy. Curling is hard. That's a story for another day. But we decided to stop at Quick Trip, get a little snack and something to drink because we didn't know what.
Which you do all the time.
Yeah, we didn't know what they would have there, for drinks, beverages. It turns out they had everything. Wish I'd have known that, but glad I didn't. Stop there, and we were walking in. It was the grand opening on 45th, and we walked in. And I saw the sweepstakes thing, and I was like, I'll just throw my name in the hat. I never win these things anyways, and kind of forgot all about it. Didn't even think about it. And then all of a sudden, a number pops up on your phone. And because I have an iPhone, they screen the calls now for you. And they'll say, if it's an unverified. So if you would call me, it won't screen it because I have your contact. Because it was a number I didn't know, they screened it. And they're like, why are you calling? And then they said, this is so-and-so from Quick Star or Quick Trip, Quick Star, whatever they said. And I looked at it. I looked at my watch, and I was like, I figured something just messed up with my account because I'm a rewards member. And They're like, yeah, you just won free gas for a year. And I was like, no way.
That's
and they're like,
wild.
yeah, you won. And what they cap it at is $2,000.
Okay.
Then they send you gift cards.
Okay.
So I get it all up front. So whenever it's...
So hypothetically, you can wheel and deal these things a little bit and play around with the system if you wanted to.
Hypothetically, I could, but I won't because I travel enough to where I
That is
need
true.
the money for the gas.
Smart. That's pretty cool. Congratulations on that. I know a lot of people have come up to you and say congrats on that throughout the week, and I'm surprised how big this story is taken off this week, I'll be honest, but that's pretty neat.
I didn't think anything of it.
That's pretty cool.
In the first 20 minutes, because they're like, oh, well, she's like, I got the phone there. Just before I got the phone, she's like, I'll email you like within 2 minutes. And I'm like, okay, it's not coming. And then all of a sudden, like 20 minutes later, it came, and I was like, oh, okay, this is actually a legit thing.
Nice. Right. Well, you deserve it. You put in a lot of work here. Something good happening. So that's good for you. Good start to 2026. Huh?
Yeah. Now we just got to get them to sponsor the show.
Exactly. Let's get that. Let's get your camera when that thing's back up and running
next
again.
week.
Next week.
Allegedly next Tuesday. I'll be back.
Next Tuesday we'll see more of Eric on the show. Let's get that sponsored by Quick Trip.
Like a slug that we can go with it because Quick Trip's in Moorhead, but it's Quick Star and Fargo.
Yeah, right.
Same thing, but we can say like, oh, Quick Trip to the Bunnell Cam.
Boom. I like that. And then
Quick Trip, talk to Eric or whatever.
Get working on that. Get.
I mean, I got a contact now, so now I got to try.
Go work your sources. That would be pretty cool. Quickly, before we got to get to what we're watching. How bad are the Packers going to lose this week?
It's going to be closer than we think.
No.
Clayton Toon's got legs.
No.
Yes.
You're not playing anybody else.
I don't care. It's going to be closer. It's a rivalry game.
Okay. All right.
Although last time we played them and we didn't play for anything, it was like a beat down in Lambeau. So
yeah, fair enough. All right. So according to Eric, Packers-Vikings games.
Whatever the spread is, like less than that.
7.5.
So the Packers will lose by 5.
7.5. Okay. All right.
That's my guess.
We'll hold you to it. We'll see you next week. Congratulations. Thanks for popping on for a couple of minutes. Now go get back to work. We got to get to what to watch. Brody, let's roll the clips. Here's what's going on to watch throughout today into the rest of the weekend. All right, we got a lot happening today and throughout the next couple of days. We have, let's see, where do we want to start? We have games of the week coming on this evening. A doubleheader on WDAY Extra. Girls and boys basketball, Wadena Deer Creek, the Wolverines taking on DGF. That game at 6 o'clock. And then following that, the boys basketball portion of the doubleheader, Detroit Lakes and DGF, expected to start around 7:30. Both of those games on WDAY Extra. I'm going to make my way over to Dilworth for those. Looking forward to that coming up later on this evening. Other stuff happening later on tonight. Oh, man, a lot happening. World Junior Championships. It's win or go home now, folks. The USA taking on Finland tonight, 5 o'clock. The puck drops at Grand Casino Arena, or the X, more commonly known. That game will be on the NHL Network coming up at 5 o'clock. The Canadians play later on tonight as well. They have Slovakia to wrap up the evening. Sweden, Latvia are coming up, and Czechia and Switzerland are the other quarterfinal games as well. Bowl game action today. Personally, I thought this one was the most interesting. Arizona taking on SMU, 7 o'clock on Fox. And the Wild are back at it. A super late one. So once you watch Team USA, wait around. If you want to watch more hockey, you got the Wild in Anaheim, 9:30 out on the West Coast on the FanDuel Sports Network. So that's what's happening today. It's a very hockey-filled day today, there's no doubt. Here's the games on Sunday in the NFL. Of course, you got the Vikings-Packers on noon on CBS. On Saturday, right here on WDAY, a lot going on. Carolina-Tampa Bay at 3:30. Seattle-San Francisco at 7. Sunday Night Football is Baltimore and Pittsburgh at 7:20, obviously, on NBC. A lot going on in that game. My Colts play at noon. No one's going to be able to watch it, but I just wanted to let you know. So that's the games happening on Sunday. Other stuff happening throughout the rest of the weekend. Bison basketball makes a return on Saturday. You got the men back at home taking on Oral Roberts. We will not have that game on WDAY Extra. It'll be on the CBS Sports Network. 3 o'clock tip-off for that. The women take on Denver after getting the win at Oral Roberts yesterday. 1 o'clock start time for that in Denver on the Summit League Sports Network. And, of course, Minnesota and Green Bay on Sunday as well at noon. Timberwolves are playing on Saturday. They got the Miami Heat, 4 o'clock start time. That game's on NBA TV. If you want to check that out, there's bowl games happening. Eric made sure he wanted me to mention this. The D3 National Championships are on Sunday as well at 7 o'clock, going right up against the bud there with Sunday Night Football. Wisconsin, River Falls, and North Central College, 7 o'clock on ESPN, if you want to check out the D3 Championship. All right, big thanks for joining us as we wrap up 2025 and go into 2026. Fun week. Thanks for sticking around with me as I fill in for Dom. You heard him say he'll be back in here on Monday. All right, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. I'll be back again in the future. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend. Have a great rest of your 2026. It's been a fun one. We'll see you on the flip side. Have a great rest of your weekend.